15 degrees, you can see your breath. Out here in the lake effect, breaking tables like it's poetry. Where else would you rather be? Pinto, Ron, Elvis, and the lay poncho. The members that you need to know. 'Cause once you out here, now you're family. Where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather be?
Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nickel City Crew. This episode, along with all of our episodes, are presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker and StreamYard. We're so glad that you're joining us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud.
It's a vibe so ridiculous. Since 12 plus 83 was 6. The shout rocking like a symphony. Where else would you rather be?
All right, let's get straight to it. I'm excited for tonight's episode for different reasons. It's funny because this is actually the first time since our ascent for the Buffalo Bills, this current iteration of them, and since their ascent where they've been just one of the top offenses in the league, they've been one of the top teams. Always talk about that term Super Bowl contender. It actually really did fit this team ever since we did kind of make our ascent up in the league. And this is the first time that I really don't know if we can win a Super Bowl the way that we are currently constructed. It's a sobering feeling. It's something that I don't like to admit, but after Buffalo's really, really disappointing 24-22 loss at home Monday Night Football recently this week, it's just really where I am. So help me unpack it tonight. With me to do that, as always, my co-host Riding Shotgun, Adam Dump Truck Rupsick. Check him out on Instagram at Adam Rupsick, RUPCZYK. DT, I called you pre-show. I mean, this is not the type of conversation I thought that we would be having 10 games into the season when it started. I'll be honest with you, and it's sobering. Like I said, to be honest, lots transpired over these last couple of days.
Well, what's up, Nickel City? What's up, Rob? Good to be back again, as always. Even if we're 0-10 right now, it's going to get on. This has been now a part of my life, a part of your life. This is the one, good thing about the Bills that is kicking around right now is Nickel City Crew. So I appreciate it. Let's live on those reins and go from there. But yeah, 5-5. I said it last week. Tough to have a must-win game before you put the Thanksgiving turkey in, and now the must-win game is a loss, and it's basically turning into the rest of the season being a must-win, season as we finish out. So not ideal, not perfect. A lot of shake-up this week, and I think we'll get into it, but can only help this team. So let's ride, let's roll, let's face it. And I texted you earlier in the day. I said, let's, half joking, I did want to do this, but I said, let's get this over with and get it done. So let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I understood that sentiment. I laughed back at you. It's kind of a macabre feeling, where you're just kind of looking at the team and wondering if we can really pull it out. And now, like you said, we talked about it right here last week that we needed these next 2 wins and then get yourself back to 7-4 and then kind of take a look up and see what the rest of the AFC was looking like. And the Bills obviously dropped their opportunity to do that Monday Night Football. I know that the big news is obviously Dorsey, and we'll get to that. But I think, we would be remiss, DT, to not talk about that game because that was really I heard WGR talking about, Jerry White said it was a drought loss. And like that really was a Billsy drought loss for the Bills. And it was crazy because it reminded me of the Minnesota game last year, not in particular game script, but just like I could not believe what I was watching. I could not believe that we had lost the game. And it was a situation where they didn't deserve to win the game, DT. And I hate saying that about my team. And I don't even use the word hate, but I mean, I can't stand that I feel like that. But like, I really don't believe that they deserve to win that game. They proved it from the very beginning. I know that James Cook fumbled the ball to start the game, but it was just weird. Even the fact that we, received the kick and kind of changing up stripes. And then, they're wondering if that was because of the, players only meeting and all this other weird stuff going on. And just all this conjecture because there were just so many litany of mistakes that were made, DT, that kind of just put this team in a situation where they didn't look like they wanted this game. I mean, Denver was doing everything that they could to make sure that the Bills won that game, and we literally gave it back to them all the way up until, the last play of the game, literally, where, you've got 12 men on the field. And, like, it's mind-boggling that the game even went like that. It's mind-boggling that, the zero blitz, and you're giving Russell Wilson another opportunity to just chuck it up there, and, like, just so much dumb shit. I mean, Gabe Davis, you got the ball going right through his hands. Like, that's what I need from you. I need you to make that catch. It's not really cold outside. There's no real reason why you're supposed to drop that ball. And, like, it seemed like everything was really coming to head on the offensive side of the football, and it just and special teams, obviously, and it just made it for a really shitty night. It really did.
Well, really all season, especially over the last couple of weeks, I've had a point of the kind of the shameless optimism of, yeah, we're making mistakes, we're losing games, but we're doing it to ourselves. Like, we're not just getting beat. We're beating ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's turned into one game, 2 games, a month, 2 months, and now we're 5-5, and beating ourselves and not getting beat. Breaking it down, you're getting doubled up in time of possession. You're getting, doubled up in plays ran. You're getting, all these statistics that you look at that, win and lose turnover margins, win and lose games, you're getting absolutely destroyed. So yes, it's respectful, and there's games we have a chance to win, and every game we've lost this year, I think we've had a chance to win, but.
Right.
On those stats, you look at getting doubled up in time of possession, double plays ran against you, and
about 19 more.
And that's not the formula. Obviously, in any situation, we're in the sales world, right, Rob? You
Right.
want to the biggest 2 things to complete a sale and feel good about it is the intro and the conclusion, right? You want to make that first impression, and then you want to close the sale. And we start off fumbling on the first play and blowing the game on the last. You literally couldn't have done worse in the beginning and the end of that game. So it wasn't deserving to win. The Broncos didn't even want to win that game. It seemed like it. I want to know. I don't want to know, but how many times they ran up the goddamn middle and and just stayed on the field and okay, credit to the D, bend don't break, but couldn't get off the field. And there's time and possessions, and the offense gets on and is sputtering and can't get in a rhythm because they don't even have plays to run, and it just was horrible in all aspects. When you needed the touchdown, they came down and got one, but until that happened, like this all year, this team just doesn't. Until you actually need it, then it's too late. And I don't know how to get ahead of that and get rolling. Maybe this is a spark in a new direction, but the optimism I've been having are, we're in these games, we're beating ourselves, but we're getting doubled up in time of possession. We fumble on the first play and we have 12 men on the last play. It's just not going to be successful, culture, process, anything you want to say is not going in the right direction with any of that.
Yeah, it's funny because, the way that you look at the game and you watch it, you consume it, everybody, outside of the defense, and I know McDermott's, press conference, rubbed some people the wrong way, and it rubbed me the wrong way too as well, because, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but, with him as kind of assigning blame, but, you can't say that the defense didn't show up. You can't say that the defense didn't do their job. They're playing depleted. We've already talked about that. We've touched on all those different types of things. So I don't think that this is a situation where, it's offense versus defense, but I do think that it's all 3 phases, and that complementary football that he loves to speak about, McDermott, and loves to preach about. I think that some of it failed them in each and every phase on Monday night, and I think that it was a situation where I don't give a fuck. I don't care about the percentages of how much blame the offense deserves and how much blame the defense deserves and how much blame the special teams deserves. I care about the fact that one of your monikers and one of the biggest things that you talk about and that you preach is this complementary football, bullshit, and you preach it and you live on it, and maybe there's a chance that you were reaching over to the offensive side of football to get it, and for it to all kind of crumble down on Monday night, with everybody kind of having a hand in it, was kind of truly ironic for me all the way up until, like I said, the post-game press conference, which we'll talk about. But, it's interesting because DT, the stats are crazy. McDermott, he does a lot of his stuff, and, right off the bat, he makes James Cook sit, and he sends a message, and, and it's funny because, we hear it all the time, WGR, or even if you're on a text group with your Buffalo Bills fans, Josh is not going to get benched for picks. Josh doesn't get benched for fumbles. Josh doesn't get reprimanded or anything like that. And that would be insane. So to me, when McDermott does stuff like that and he makes decisions, executive decisions as the leader of the team to bench a guy for a mistake, I just always think it rings hollow because of the fact that there's other guys that are making mistakes. You're not benching Gabe Davis after that drop. And like, I just don't think that there's an equal amount of accountability, to be quite honest. And because of that, I think that there could be a fissure in the locker room. I think that there could be some type of problems in the locker room in the future if they don't get this thing back on track, because the way that it's trending now is it's going to be a disappointing season where we just missed the playoffs and maybe we finish in the 8th seed or the 9th seed. And people are going to want accountability at the end of the year. You harken back to 13 seconds and when he didn't want to tell us shit on that podium and he wasn't going to tell us anything. And then all of a sudden, magically the special teams coordinator takes another job in Jacksonville. But that's not going to cut it with this team, DT, this time around. And I just think that some of the decisions he makes, again, I know it confirms my bias, but I just sometimes feel like he just doesn't get it and he just doesn't really see the big picture. And because of that, I'm really worried because he's still the leader of this team.
It seems, like you said earlier, kind of covering tracks and reaching for blame and, the cheap shots of what you can do. And I'm not saying he fired Ken Dorsey for a cheap shot just to, get the heat off his trail or anything, maybe in a way, but, benching James Cook to, see, okay, yeah, we can't turn the ball over on the first play of game. Like just trying to create narratives and scenarios of the blame is here. The blame is here. Like, James Cook isn't why we're 5-5 right now, because he fumbled on the first play of that game, right? It goes way deeper and into it.
He had an excellent game. He had an excellent game when they gave him the ball.
My biggest thing, with that is the trust the process and the militant attitude and teach discipline and, all these aspects of, what made you a playoff team or whatever. And then, we're consistently getting penalties to not get off the field on third down. Have 12 men on the field on the final, play of the game after 2 timeouts, literally exact same thing as 13 seconds.
17 turning the ball over.
Yeah. Every game. And then it's just, okay, we're tight, we're militant, we don't make mistakes. But then all you're doing is making mistakes. And you have this kind of dry, conservative vibe of everything else. And then you're still making those mistakes. So it'd be different, because it just, when they weren't making mistakes, they were winning and they were, the offense looked good. And so it's a lot harder to pick it out. But you've been saying it, for the past couple of years, Rob, and, I'm starting to get closer and closer to agreeing with you of like the breadcrumbs are there, the trail is there. And like the winning and the high power offense kind of masked a lot of, this would have been happening 2 years ago. And we would have seen this a long time ago and kind of got ahead of it and got it rolling. And it really is, I wouldn't call it a conspiracy at this point. It's a lot more believable than it ever has been of, this guy has just left breadcrumbs of being, overpowering, conservative, not being open-minded. And, now it's when the team's really struggling, you really need to pull something out. We're firing people, and it's not, it's, you can never say anything in a press conference, never say anything of any sort of.
Yeah, most coaches are like that. Most coaches are like that. I understand coach speak and stuff like that. But, he seemed like he was assigning some blame on Monday night. And he seemed like he wanted to get away from a few things and get away from some narratives where he was letting them know. And he let us know, let us know that the defense he was damn proud of. And I understand that that's his baby. I understand that that's the side of the football that he comes from. But I don't know how well that rings in the locker room when, you're praising your defense and then, the offense is just kind of taking the swords. I understand that you win and lose as a team. But on those situations, either say nothing or just make sure that you're keeping it all coach speak. And he really didn't. He was kind of giving away his hand.
And I mean, this defense has cost us games all year. Like, we're giving them the benefit of the doubt because, they're beat up and literally have, more significant injuries than any team in the NFL when it comes to the defense side of the ball. Like, there's some big players out, but the magnitude of our injuries at each level of the ball, when it was literally all pros everywhere, are out, is huge. So there is credit to this defense to kind of just sticking in there. But sticking in there hasn't been good enough. When first drive of the game, they're the 31st ranked team in the NFL in yards allowed and points allowed. Like, they're giving up the game script, right away. These teams are able to do what they want that first drive of the game on this defense, get behind, then this offense hasn't been able to get it back up, and then we finally get to a deadlock late in the game, and the defense, can't hold on or get worn out or whatever the case is, but we're not getting off the field on third down. We're not getting pressure. Von Miller's completely not there.
Yeah, he disappeared.
Rousseau and Leonard Floyd started out kind of hot, and we haven't heard really anything from them. There's okay pressure up the middle. They're stopping the run okay, but they always let that big run out every game. And then, the Patriots go down, score a touchdown on the final play. Taron Johnson gets beat. They run a zero blitz twice in a row. Taron Johnson gets beat. Like, the defense as well it's easy for us to be like, oh, well, there's a lot of injuries and we're playing well.
If you take a deeper look, though, they're
gradually falling down the ranks and losing in crucial times when we need them. So there's literally blame everywhere. Obviously, we know about the offense. We've been talking about the offense forever. Defense is starting to, as I said a month ago, they're gonna start to unravel. It's just the nature of the beast. The offenses are too good in this league, except ours. And special teams, we haven't punted in 3 years, and I guess we never practiced it because our punter sucks. Our kickoff team can't. They're getting to the 30, 35 almost every time. Denver had good field position off their returns all night long. Yeah. And we're punting for barely, we're never pinning anybody. We're losing the field position battle all the way around. Like, all three phases are getting beat. And just because we have Josh Allen and a high power, used to have a high power offense and have Josh Allen to win games, I feel like the aura overall, we're still in these games, but all three phases we're getting beat. And, you can't look away from that. The double up in time of possession and double up in plays. Like,
it was about 19 more plays, but it was still bad. I mean, it's bad. I mean, it's not a recipe to win. And like I said, I think that's one of the reasons that I don't like that complementary football jargon is because of the fact that I think that it's coach speak, and it's almost a way to say that, I would love to be, 50-50. And I understand that that's not necessarily how it's going to be every game. It was this game, but I was just looking for a little bit more on the offensive side of football. On the defensive side of the football, we do give them passes, and I have given them some passes in respect to that. I think that you can win that game, on Monday night, even with giving up 24 points. The problem with me is that, I think that McDermott is at the head of it all. And as we transition, it's, that's the news of the week. And, you turn on ESPN on Tuesday or today. I know we record these on Wednesdays, but, we're the biggest topic on any NFL show. We're the number one topic. The last 2 days, they're talking about the firing again. Unless you've been under a rock, the Bills did go ahead and let Ken Dorsey go with his duties as offensive coordinator. They have named in-house Joe Brady, who was the quarterback coach for the Bills, as interim OC. And, we've been getting made fun of, DT, to be quite honest. I mean, I heard Jeff Saturday laying into us. I heard Marcus Spear talking about Josh Allen and different things and different culprits of the offense. Yeah,
Saturday said it was a dumpster fire.
Yeah, and when you listen to some of the rhetoric on it, the problem is that I'm having a tough time, poking holes in a lot of their arguments. And I know some of it is hyperbolic because it's TV and it's for entertainment purposes, and I get that. However, Josh Allen is the one out there throwing those interceptions. And we never really called for Ken Dorsey's job or anything like that. Now, we were calling for some type of consistency on the offense, and we've been talking about that, like I said last week, since last year. We've got a whole season calendar now worth of games, almost 17 games. I think last Monday was game 18 of where this offense just didn't look right. So we've been on the trail. We've known that there's been something wrong. I wasn't calling for a man's job because it's rare that I would do something like that. However, I was calling for some type of change. And if he can't get it done, then I definitely advocated some type of change. The problem with me and the timing is that the timing makes it seem like there's a rat in the house. The timing makes it seem like there's a fish in the house because of the fact that, why are we firing Ken Dorsey right after a bad game where you are responsible as the head of the household, the head of the team? You are running things. You're dad. You're running it. And now all of a sudden you want to blame the kids for problems. And it's just like, I just don't know if I want, you're the warden and you're blaming the inmates. And listen, you get some control over your team. You're running the special teams. You're over everything. And because he's got that overarching umbrella, it just made me start thinking about the past, and we'll get into that. But DT, speak to that, because I just don't agree with complementary football. And I just don't agree with this whole moniker that he is leading like he says that he's leading. And I think that some of the players might be picking up on that.
Yeah, and I'll ask you this, Rob. If we have 11 men on the field and they miss the field goal, we win the game. Is Ken Dorsey fired yesterday?
It's just impossible. I mean, Mad Dog said it on ESPN on Wednesday, and he was right. I mean, and I was like,
he's not fired.
Yeah, there's no way you could fire him. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, for a 2 timeout penalty, like 13 seconds.
Right.
And you know, and he gets fired for that. And Josh Allen is going to have, you know, the turnovers. It's something it's not new. It's not old. It's something that's going to be here literally the rest of his time as a Buffalo Bill quarterback. Going to have the turnovers, but he had the turnovers. He's never had this many.
Right. He's having a lot of them.
You know, but he had the turnovers and, you know, and mixed them in with, you know, 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it was a lot easier to swallow these.
Yeah.
Now he's over. Now it's two picks, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 1 touchdown, fumble, 1 touchdown. It's not proportional anymore, you know.
Right.
So there has to be like the change, you know, to come from has to be with 1-7 of turning that stat around, winning games, getting this offense rolling. And so I get, you know, why you want maybe a change there. There's a lot bigger problems, I think, in this organization right now. But, you know, the biggest thing has to be getting 17 right. It's got to start with that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's got to be 17 getting right again. When whatever we have to do to get there, like like you said, screw complementary football, screw the special teams, screw the defense. We need to get 1-7 right. That's the nucleus of this team. That's the only way we're going to win a Super Bowl if he's playing at elite level. So if Ken Dorsey wasn't able to, you know, to do that, to rein in and get what Brian Dable got out of Josh Allen, Sean McDermott is proven he's not capable of it. You know, he's been through 2 regimes. If anything, this just proved it even more that McDermott isn't capable of doing it. If it was McDermott and Dable in the beginning,
right?
Dable leaves, Josh kind of goes off the rails. Well, then it's a simple answer to the equation. It was Dable, like, because Dorsey couldn't do it, and obviously now McDermott can't do it again. So it's showing that nobody in this room can get it right with 1-7, and that's the
that's a major problem.
The scariest things I've am looking at right now is, you know, like, yes, I'm not gonna. He should be criticized for leading the league in turnovers. He should. Like, you shouldn't do that, especially in this time of this team. Like, you can get away with turnovers a lot more when you're winning the division and, you know, you're hanging 40 every week. He should be criticized for that. But I think all our focus needs to go into getting 1-7 playmaker back again. And McDermott can't do it. Yeah. Ken Dorsey couldn't do it. Right. So who can, you know? Yeah, that's got to be the focus.
We're about to find out, because it was dismal on offense. I mean, 177 yards on offense, a touchdown, 2 picks. I mean, he's throwing the same picks on the sideline. He loves that honey hole shot, and he's not getting it. And I remember, you know, it's funny that it's not funny, but it's just sad funny that they keep coming underneath. I mean, Patriots game coming right underneath and just grabbing that thing. It's nice and easy for him.
Calling timeouts to get that ball back aggressively at the end of that half. Calling timeouts to get that ball back.
For that. Yeah. You know, I mean, like, you know, and I understand that, you know, he's got to show confidence, and I understand that, you know, he's got that swag and he's got that Brett Favre in him, but there's got to be some type of marriage. And it just leads back to my original point from, you know, forever ago, that just like you talked about, DT, Dable was able to tap into him some type of way, and there's just no way around it for me at this point in time. There's no way around the fact and seeing the difference. And one of the things that bothered me, you know, was that leading up to the game, you know, I heard on WGR, well, there's no evidence that, you know, Sean McDermott is having his handprints on the offensive side of the football. And I'm just like, are we kidding? Like, he ran Dable out of town. They had problems. They had, you know, some type of difference of philosophy. And then all of a sudden now everything is not the same. And no one wants to give any type of credence to the fact that we might be getting the version of the Bills offense in respects to the run game that Sean McDermott wanted, you know, because I always will contest that he backdoored into Josh. This is not the type of football that they were playing with Dable that he wanted. And it's just a little bit disheartening. Now, as we transition, DT, I've got, you know, I put on my investigative hat as we begin to kind of try to wrap up a little bit, but it was interesting because, you know, the press conference with Sean McDermott made me think of the past, and I can explain. It's you know, I was so gut wrenched by 13 seconds, and then I felt so disrespected as a season ticket holder. Now, I'll raise my hand. Member of the Mafia, Nickel City Crew. I understand that I am not owed anything because I have willingly chose to buy season tickets to the Buffalo Bills. So we just paint that off the gate, that I'm not a dummy. So I do understand how it works. However, the fans make the team exist. So sometimes the fans need to hear something from the representation of the team in order to keep faith, in order to keep hope, and different things like that. After a gut-wrenching performance for 13 seconds, I got nothing. Nothing at all. And we were just told to take it. Like it's sometimes, your mom gives you the medicine and she, does it taste bad and she's not telling you anything. It doesn't matter. Just take it because
I said so.
Because I said so.
Yeah.
Because I said so, and take it. And it was one of those situations where we were forced to accept it as Bills Mafia members. We were forced to accept it, Nickel City Crew, that listen, something just happened in front of our eyes that I have never even witnessed, didn't even know we could lose a game that fast, and we know nothing. It's all mystery. Now, again, we talked about the special teams coach that was, mysteriously not fired, but took another job. And we all know how that world went and how it was all just kind of kept and swept under the rug. However, there were just tea leaves that he was leaving us. And I've been talking about McDermott, DT, and those breadcrumbs that I talked about was just that, I could tell that he was getting a little bit more squeezing. He understood that this was a good team. Obviously, AFC Championship game, then you've got the divisional round. You're right there knocking on the door. And I felt that he started to get tighter, even more than he had been before, because all of the actual accusations that I have for Sean McDermott started after 13 seconds, specifically because then you've got a situation where you tell Leslie Frazier after the next year that he's not coming back to make calls anymore. So you've got the divisional round loss to Cincinnati. We were all upset about it, but what were we talking about? The push and pull and that 3rd and 7, and they're all backed up. Well, whose call was it? And we always talked about the fact that that's 13 seconds all over again. It doesn't matter whose call it is. Make sure that you're making the right call because you're running shit. Make sure that you have everybody in line. And I've talked about that and harped on that. And then what does he do? He tightens his grip a little bit more and says, you know what, Leslie, I'm not going to get blamed for you anymore. If that's the truth. And he says, you're not calling the defense. I want to call the defense. So what does Leslie do? He backs away. Again, another sweep under the rug. Leslie Frazier, they frame it all nice at one Bills drive. And they make sure that everybody, can accept it in something that a form that nobody gets offended. But listen, I'm offended because I knew what Leslie Frazier left for. I knew that once I heard that the Mike Florio piece was true, that, he told me he wasn't calling plays anymore, that I understood, like, I'm a grown man and my defense has been number 1 or top 3 the entire time I've been here. So you're going to blame me for Cincinnati, or you're going to blame me for, 13 seconds, whatever the case may be, when we're on the same staff. I understood his frustration as a coach. And then this year, he wants to run the defense and he wants to make sure that he's making the calls. And then as soon as everybody goes down on defense, he just talks about the injuries and he talks about how it's hard. And he talks about how he wants to just commend his defense for the effort that they're putting in and different things like that. And I get it. Firing Ken Dorsey to me was just another example of how he is trying to make sure that to the Pagulas on those exit interview meetings, that they understand that I can get this back on track. This is not my fault. So many different circumstances. And I think that he's setting up for his exit interview, not saying that he's punting on the season, but you can't blame me for Joe Brady if he doesn't know how to do the job. Clearly, Ken Dorsey couldn't do the job. That's why I asked you if I could fire him. And now we're sitting here and we missed the playoffs. And I'm asking you, Terry, I'm asking you, Kim, don't make any decisions about me because this is not me. The process, we still have to trust it. We'll be back next year. I'm going to get Josh under control. I'm going to figure out, and depending on what Joe Brady does this second half of the season, really determines the fate of the Bills' offense for next year going forward. Because if he does shitty, then obviously they'll be looking externally for his replacement. If he does well, then maybe they'll do the exact same thing they did with Ken Dorsey and give him and offer him the job. Which I wasn't mad that Ken Dorsey got the job. I was, just saying that we'd never done the job before, so I was concerned. And I just feel like McDermott is making sure that every finger at the end of it is not pointing on him, like the game of Clue, like you talked about, or one of those games that my Kings play, where they turn out the lights and everybody's running around and you got to figure out who done it. I just feel like it's one of those situations where he's trying to make sure that his scent is clean, and I'm on to it, man. I just think it's bullshit. I'm on to it.
Yeah. I think we've been onto it, right? We're probably Nickel City Crew. We're first reported in kind of being the most critical. Sean McDermott doesn't go on trial enough. Being very, not calling for his head, but being critical of him and
just watching him, man. Just watching him close, man.
And the past couple of weeks, I'm feeling the vibe kind of shift with us, Rob. Like it's out there, man. Like the mafia is starting to field it. Like it's not as
getting hot.
Not as exactly. It's not as.
Oh no, I don't see the support. I don't see all the support like I did on Twitter, like like I used to. I don't see the McDermott
it's not
supporters
as quiet as
speaking
it once
up.
was. So in a way, like I guess you can't blame the guy for for kind of feeling like that and being able to sweep things under the rug and get all the fingers off of him and keep it moving. And I got him out of the drought. I'll be a beloved person in this city forever. And not even a losing season. We're just in a 5-5 spot right now in the middle of the year, and it's hot. It's
Yeah.
hot. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an actual hot seat for him, but the vibe is hot. Like there's a lot of people not excited about Sean McDermott, and then starting to see, you know, what we've been kind of seeing over the past couple of years, the breadcrumbs, the feel, the Dable and him had beef. Like, no way, they didn't have beef. Dable just
Oh
went for a
man, I
better
get so
job.
mad
And
when
then
I hear
it's like,
that rhetoric.
nah, he really did have beef. And now it's him. What did he have with Ken Dorsey? He fired his ass in the middle of the season. You know,
Right.
like there was no goodwill there, you know, so it's there. Yeah,
It's self-preservation.
It's becoming
See,
more real. The heat's
yeah.
coming a little more, and there's, you know, like I said it earlier in the show, there's things that your main premise is discipline, strong, militant
Accountability.
football,
Yep.
and we're opening the game with a turnover and ending it with 12 men on the field.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. You know, there's nowhere, you know, we had even talked about it, DT. I mean, we go back to the archives. We talked about there's nowhere to hide. And now we were specifically talking about, you know, the defense and making sure
Calling
that,
the D, sure.
you know, he called out Leslie Frazier and, you know, and
He
fired
doubled
him.
down.
You know, he doubled down on
Doubled down.
himself.
He's like,
And
I'm
what
not,
did
I'm just,
and what did I tell you back then, DT? I said, all I can do is respect it. I said, but we'll be watching. And everybody is going to be watching. And I've just been watching him around this whole situation with Dorsey and the firing this week. And I just want to see how he handles it, you know, going forward, because of the fact that it's interesting to me that, you know, Dorsey is the fall guy. The special teams guy wasn't the fall guy. And he definitely wasn't taking any responsibility for the special teams gaffe. And he definitely didn't take any responsibility for the zero blitz. I didn't hear him say anything about the fact that could have been a bad call or anything like that. So I'm just in a situation where I'm watching him. I've always been watching him. And now at this point, because of this, you know, this huge move within the organization, he really has he's either put himself squarely in focus, or again, he's trying to duck. He's trying to make sure that he can dip and dodge and make sure that no arrow really hits him at the end of the year or anything like that. And I know that it would sound crazy to fire Sean McDermott, but to some Bills Mafia, some Nickel City crew, it's not that crazy, because of the fact that some of us want an offensive coach. Some of us want a Ben Johnson. Some of us want somebody to be given an opportunity. And I understand that Ken Dorsey didn't work out, but you don't just stop trying. Like, you don't just stop, you know, giving it an opportunity. So that's why, in a sense, the offense was so broken that I don't have a problem with Joe Brady being promoted and Dorsey on the out the door. It was just the timing of it, because, as you alluded to, had we not had 11, 12 on the field, then he doesn't get fired this week, and then we'd have to go through this another week and another week and another week. So I don't want change for the sake of just change, DT, but I do want substantive change, and I want it to matter, and I want it to mean something. And I don't want you to be in the self-preservation mode, because that's how you get the Doug Whaley, and that's how you get, you know, when Nix is on the way out of the door, he's like, we're drafting a quarterback, and now you're self-preservation, and you draft Egypt, and you're like, oh, that's not my guy. Like, let me draft one more guy. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't my pick. Like, it's just anytime a management position gets in a situation where it's self-preservation, it can be shitty for the employees. And I just don't want this guy to lose the locker room, because if he loses the locker room, you might as well put up tent right now. We might as well just, be done with it, because of the fact that you lose the locker room, and that's pretty much it. You need to find yourself a new head coach.
Well, what did Josh say today after practice? He said this firing is because we didn't do our jobs. Right. So
and that's a lot of times how players take it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only optimism kind of coming out of this is, it sparks the team for accountability purposes. Like, and it sucks that, Ken Dorsey was the sacrificial lamb to do that. But, the offense is way under par, way under what you need to do. So whatever. This is the NFL, like this is you win or you die.
Professional
you win
sports.
Or you die.
It's professional sports. Yeah.
So, the only optimism in this whole thing is if it sparks some sort of, it's real messed up to say you only fired him to spark some fire into this team, but if that's what comes out of it, then it's a successful firing in my eyes. We have to, it's got to give us something. It's got to give us something. If it's the same old, then it was probably a bad firing, and we should have held on him for the rest of the season and let the man have his dignity and move on next year. But if it sparks this team and gets us on a run and gets us confident again, then it was worth it, right? But those are great points about kind of getting the blame away from. Putting more effort into getting the blame away from you. You're not putting effort into winning games and making 17 the best you can. And sooner or later, players are going to start noticing that and feeling that. And, I didn't appreciate this, but Stephon Diggs' brother, tweeting all that stuff, like get 14 out of there and putting him in a Ravens jersey or whatever the case he did. But, I didn't appreciate that. But the point is, he's in the NFL.
Yeah.
Trayvon Diggs is in the NFL. Like, it's not just some dude on the couch, like, oh, get Diggs out of there. Like, this dude knows. Like, this dude knows, right?
He's
And
his
I'm
brother.
not saying he
He's
knows
his
that
real brother.
he doesn't know that Stephon Diggs wants out. I'm not saying, like, Stephon.
It doesn't have to mean that. It just means that he knows his brother is frustrated. He knows he has to be frustrated.
And he's saying, like, get him out of this team. Like, that means there's other players in the NFL and probably in this team, in this locker room, that are like, bro, what the fuck? You know?
Man.
So it's not just some, armchair quarterback like us saying, oh, we need to, this is bad, the offense stinks. Like, these are NFL players saying stuff like this. If it's our team saying stuff like this, like you said, then it's big trouble. It's unrepairable at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that this, if nothing else, for the rest of this season, we've got 7 games remaining. I think that the rest of the regular season will give us an indication on what is going on at One Bills Drive. And the biggest thing for me, and it's not a ha I told you so, because I want my team to win a Super Bowl. I've said it on the record many, many times. If Sean McDermott took our team to the promised land and won the Super Bowl, then I'll change my damn tune about him, because he would be on the level of Marv Levy, with me. And it doesn't take 4 straight Super Bowls for me. It would just take 1. I mean, and 1, I'd be like, that's my coach, and nobody would be able to talk shit about him. So I'm not telling you that I'm not easily dissuaded, and I'm easily persuaded on that actual front. However, this is going to give us an opportunity at this point in time to see if all of those fancy monikers mean shit. And that's being honest. And I said that from the very beginning. And when I compare him to Dick Duran, more life and less playtime than Rex Ryan, that's what I meant by that, is that he's got the same type of principles. He's got the same type of football philosophy. That's what benching James Cook is. That's some shit that Rex would do. That's some shit that, those guys would do back in the day. Those defensive coaches, defensive mindset. Oh, Mike Singletary coaching the 49ers. I want winners. Like, I understand, like, doesn't everybody want to win? You know what I mean? Like, don't the whole team? That's why they're here, giving their life and risking their bodies. So then why would you punish the man that's the most explosive player on offense outside of 14 for one play? Like, it's the first play of the game. That should be his saving grace, that they didn't score. And you look him in the face mask and you tell him, hey, man, you get back out there, you hold that damn ball. You're lucky that they didn't score on that drive. Don't make me look like an asshole. And that's how you handle grown men, with giving them opportunities, not putting them on the bench like little kids. And I just don't understand those types of philosophies. And we're going to get a chance to peer into the soul of Sean McDermott, the football soul. Obviously, we don't know him as a man, but the football soul of Sean McDermott is going to be put on display. What are you about? Do you have the same integrity that you've been talking about, preaching to your players, and growth mindset and accountability and all of the different, I could just rattle off all of his different slogans, and all of the coaches had them, DT. They all had them. Rex Ryan had a slogan, and, Doug Marrone had a slogan, and Chan Gailey had one too. And guess what? Dick Duran had a slogan too. And they all had something that was used to try to galvanize the team. Trust the process has worked. It's been great. It's been embraced by many members of Bills Mafia. I hadn't, it's never been one of, my cup of tea, but it's always been, widely accepted that this guy is professional. And we've always given him that respect here, DT. I am watching him because these next 7 games, I get to know a little bit more about you. And really, are you practicing what you're preaching? Because I'm going to be watching him like a hawk. I don't think I've been calling him a fraud since the beginning. So for me to back off that would be disingenuous. I think he's full of shit. And I always thought that he was a defensive coach. And I'm not asking for it to burn to the ground. I want us to go to the playoffs. If it doesn't, I'll be great to see what everybody else can see and how he handles it.
Well, we kind of touched on this earlier, but homie's running out of shields, like he had, if Dable was one that was respectful, right? Leslie Frazier was a respectful shield to throw out there. Ken Dorsey is halfway there, it was a season and a half of kind of pitiful offensive play. Like, right. Okay, you could wrap your head around it, right? But who's the next shield? He's completely out of shields. Is it 1-7? You're going to start putting 1-7 out there saying, it's him. Then
no, you're not going to be pulling him from many games.
As much as he needs to be accountable, yeah. But I'm saying just, using him as a shield. Like,
blaming Josh? No, I doubt it.
It can't be Joe Brady because it's not credible. Nope. If Joe Brady comes in and sucks, it's not credible because he came in midway through the season. He's not doing it with 1-7. So is he going to start doing it with the individual players? Like that, he's running.
Then you
he's
really
out of
lose the locker room. Yeah, then you really lose the locker room. Yeah, then you really lose the locker room. So it'll be interesting to see. We all know it. The Bills again. We'll be playing on Sunday. I mean, you got to get back to it. Like, it's crazy. This week has been just it's just been seriously depressing to hear how everybody's been talking about our team, DT.
Yeah.
And I felt a little bit embarrassed not because they fired Ken Dorsey, because that had been floated around in Buffalo and in our circles for weeks or on end now, but I just felt embarrassed by the fact that they were calling us, a dumpster fire, that they've been saying that we're disorganized. And I thought that was the hallmark of this so-called trust the process of McDermott. And he seems like he's grasping for straws. I think that other people are noticing, and the most important people that I need to believe in him are right there at One Bills Drive that show up to work every day. I don't work for this man. I don't need him. I don't need to believe in him. But the players sure do. And the players definitely need to be galvanized in that locker room. I definitely saw Trayvon Diggs on that. It did not make me feel good, because you're absolutely right. That's his brother. It's not just some random Joe Schmo. So no, he did not say that his brother is getting out of there or wants out of there. But you don't think that they've had their own private conversations? You don't think that they've had their own text messages? So I want everybody in the ear of Stefon Diggs telling him how great Buffalo is. And that's why we did the miseducation episode. I don't want him starting to thinking about leaving or anything like that, regardless of contractual and if it's possible and yada, yada, yada. We don't want a malcontent on our team. We don't want anybody that's going to disrupt the locker room. And he's such a great captain. Again, 3 targets on Monday night. It was just pathetic. So the Bills battle the Jets, DT, as we wrap up tonight, 4:25 on Sunday, right at the Ralph. And then, this is it. The meat and potatoes are here. The Bills will travel to play Philly, right after Thanksgiving. And then you've got the bye week. Then you've got the Chiefs on the road. You've got the Cowboys here. You've got the Chargers on the road right before Christmas. You've got the Patriots here. And obviously you lost to them. So, that just makes it even more weird. And then you've got the Dolphins, who obviously we have owned them, but they'll be obviously ready to try to win that division by the time that game comes up. So, it's going to be an interesting stretch. 7 games left, DT. I'm out of predictions. I'm out of things that I think are going to happen, to be honest. I do want to believe you that we'll get some type of jolt from Joe Brady. And I do understand a lot of times, like the Raiders, you get a jolt when you fire a coach, or you get a jolt when you change an OC, but not always. I mean, the Panthers changed an OC. That didn't make a difference. Some other teams have changed play callers. That hasn't made a difference. So, I really think that, Josh may be right, DT. It might be mostly on the players, and I don't know. There's all this conjecture about Josh, and does he like shotgun, and did Ken Dorsey cater to him too much, and maybe they need to put him under center. And Dan Orlovsky says he runs play action so well, and get him under center. And I don't know. I don't work there. I just need Joe Brady and the people in the powers that be to come up with a solution. I don't care if Josh Allen is in shotgun 100 times. I don't care if he's in under center 100 times. I need him to look good, like you said. I need him to be fixed. Somebody fix our quarterback. $256 million investment. I need him to be right.
Yeah, I'm bitching before the game, and we walking in I'm sick of this introducing the whole team bullshit. Let's introduce the offense, and I want them to introduce my $300 quarterback and run out of the tunnel and have him hear what he means to this city. I know he knows, but have him feel the mafia, coming out of that tunnel and feel what he means. And they did. And he comes out and they play like shit, and then your OC gets fired, and
oh my God,
he's saying, so as much as that spark, I'm not saying Joe Brady's going to come in and reinvent the wheel. I'm saying the spark from the team and the players are like, oh shit, dudes are getting their heads cut off now because of us. So we got to go in and and end this before our heads start getting cut. So it's
go time. It's real, man.
As I said earlier, I almost feel like grasping at straws are silly to show any sort of optimism right now, and that's a horrible place to be. As a fan, as any part,
they haven't shown us. They haven't shown us.
Any situation you say oh well, this could happen, and oh well, we're really not that bad because we've only lost X, Y. It's starting to just sound silly,
hollow.
Man,
yeah, it's starting to ring hollow. Yeah, I mean it is. I know the tailgate report is a fun segment, and we'll get to that real quickly. But again, the Nickel City Crew tailgate report presented by 26 Shirts here on Buffalo Fanbase. Again, the Bills of Mafia Podcast Network. Head on over to 26shirts.com for all your latest Buffalo themed t-shirts. Again, they do support a great cause with each and every purchase. DT, mine is I'm really deflated, to be honest. I was by myself, watched the game by myself. I didn't have my Kings that night. They actually watched it with their mom, and Mondays are not my night, so I just stayed alone and I watched the game, and I cussed a little bit and cursed a little bit, made myself a steak to try to cheer myself up halftime. And then after halftime, I still didn't feel better as the game was unfolding. So that was really it, man. I did not do much. I was here low key by myself, hunkered down, and I'm just glad because my ex-wife said that my middle son Nate, he's my ride or die. And he, had tears in his eyes crying after, and I've already gave him the edict that there's no crying in the regular season. So he's just as passionate as his father is.
Yeah.
So I can't help it. I raised a Bills maniac as well. So I was happy I was by myself. I was very frustrated. Listened to post game. Did not really call the Dorsey firing. Didn't really see that coming necessarily. I know that the offense was bad, but again, like we talked about earlier in the episode, everybody kind of had a hand in that one, and I just didn't see that was going to happen. I thought special teams coordinator would be fired before he was the next day. So that's the way I consumed it. DT, how was Monday Night Football?
Well, how about some night game fatigue, Rob? I mean, 4 and 5 weeks. Like,
yeah.
I'm exhausted, man. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot. It's a lot all day waiting for these games, and then you're 1 o'clock. But we were out there. Had a decent crew. Did a little different this year.
Zach's never coming back on, by the way. He was bad luck. Zach's never coming back on, so you can tell him that when we get finished recording. He's there. I know he's your roommate. He's never coming back on. That's garbage.
No, straight up. No, earlier I was walking in to get on. He's like, "Oh, you want me to come on for a follow up?" I said, "No, you never. You had your time on the crew."
Yeah, never invited.
No reoccurring guests.
We'll see you in 8 years when they come back to Buffalo. How about that? We're still doing it.
Exactly. So had a good crew, parked a little farther down than usual, down in the motel district, the Twin Oak and the Red Carpet Inn down there, right up Southwestern, past Abbott from where we usually are. Nice tailgate day. Was a little windy right when we got there. 3-4 o'clock was a little windy, felt a little cool, but got comfortable real quick after that. It was a beautiful night. 43, I think it was on my watch. No wind, very comfortable in the stadium, very good vibe. Broncos country was out there. There were some Broncos fans as always, but still the Mafia was in there and loud, and it just the tailgate was decent. Had just your normal shenanigans. Got after it. And
I saw.
Did a
I saw
little cooking on
there.
on the tailgate grill, and got it going, and from the beginning, not that I wasn't pumped up, but I was business like. This has to be a win. This has to be a situation. So like Stevie Johnson giving me the where else would you rather be? Like I turned to my boy next to me. I'm like, I don't know if Stevie's doing it for me tonight. Like I didn't feel the energy,
Yeah,
and then,
I can understand.
And then the team comes out. We turn the ball over on the first play, and it was like, you got Billy the Buffalo right in front of me, not even stepping into his goddamn throws, throwing T-shirts into the 5th row. Can't even get him up in the 10, 15 row. Not even stepping into throws. It was just the energy
Billy
could have
the
been there.
Buffalo.
The table was set, but the meal was shitty. So we'll take it, and felt like the drought years where you'd go and your best time of the day was the tailgate. So that's what it was. Late night. Took yesterday off to just kind of get it back, and it was just a dark day, dark week, man. I'm out of it.
Yeah, no, dark day, dark week for us for sure. And obviously, as Bills fans, we know how it goes. We know how heartbreak goes, so we're not going to ever bail on our team or anything like that. But your expectations can change, and your the way that you think about the team and view of them, and some of the things that you think that they can attain in a season definitely can change and can fluctuate. Mine has for sure. I'm no longer, expecting a Super Bowl or anything like that. I would be pleasantly surprised if we make the playoffs. It's going to take a miracle with the AFC record. Now we've got a 5th AFC loss. I don't really know how the math really works out on that. You damn near are going to have to run the table, like you said, DT. You're going to have to be, 12-5 or 11-6, probably at the best, and even 11-6. You better lose to the Cowboys. I mean, it could not be an AFC loss because
or the
we've
Eagles,
got so many. Yeah, or the Eagles, right? I forgot about them. So 7 games left, 2 NFC, like you said, DT. The rest in the conference, and you better pick up every conference win. And like I said, unfortunately, I'm at a point right now where I'm not I'm not going to predict anything. I think we could lose to the Jets on Sunday. I know that it sounds crazy, and I know that Wilson's been playing horrible, and the coach refused to pull him, and they're making fun of him in Manhattan, and everybody's having a good time making fun of Salah. I promise you, our shit smells worse than their shit right now. They lost their Hall of Fame quarterback week 1. Anything that they're doing positively is all to the good. They literally started in the red. The Bills started out with way different expectations in respects to post Roger injury, and after week 1. I can't put anything by the Bills. I can't put anything by the Jets, and hopefully that we can come out and take Zach Wilson out of the game early, beat him up a little bit, and maybe get his confidence a little bit shaken. And we know it doesn't take much for a guy like him, but I don't know. Hopefully you're right. The jolt comes with Joe Brady taking over.
Comeback, revenge, get it back from week 1, whatever you want to do to pump yourself up for this one, get it on. And I won't do predictions either, but the must wins must be 6-1. So my prediction is a must record, and the must record is 6-1. Is 7 ain't going to do it. And we just know that mathematically, even though, Deshaun Watson's out for the year. That might help our chances with.
We're 10th though right now. We're 10th though right now, DT. We're 10th. We got some guys. We got some climbing to do.
CJ Stroud in the MVP conversation. So it's whatever you got to do to get up for Sunday. Start it one game at a time. As cliche and dumb as that sounds, and whatever. But just go out there, 4:25 at home. Not as late. We get a little more time though Sunday. You can ease into your day a little bit, but then 4:25 hits. Let's go catch one. Get to 6-5 and get into Thanksgiving with some sort of optimism.
Yeah, it would be nice. It's been a tough little stretch right now. So we'll continue to watch. We'll continue to monitor. I really appreciate you taking time out of your night, DT. As always, these were my Bills thoughts said out loud. Please spread love, not hate. Hit them with a go Bills, DT, please. I mean, we still the mafia. We still the crew. We are not wavering.
We still the crew.
Hit them with a go Bills. Yeah, hit them with a go Bills.
The football is still the best season. Let's go. We got 1-7. We're fine.
6-5. I knew you were gonna say it. Go Bills.
Go Bills.